Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Neremik. Welcome back to more of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Last time we wrapped up the investigation for Case 4, which means we are getting straight on into the trial. We're trying to save Natsume, and ideally this time he won't burn to death immediately afterwards. So, 20th February, 9:23 AM, the Old Bailey, defendants antechamber. Reading that out before it's even appeared. It's like a bad habit to be here at this point. So, well, I never expected this. Who'd have thought we'd be back in here again so soon? We're on a study tour of Great Britain, with the intention of learning the country's legal practices. In order to research the latest court procedures here, we need as much court experience as possible. Well, yeah, I suppose that's true, but for the person in the dock, it may well be his or her one and only time in court, and it could be life-changing, in which case treating it as research may seem a little crass. Oh, when you put it like that, you're quite right. Good morning! Ah, Mr. Natsume. Good morning. Oh dear, are you alright? Your eyes are terribly bloodshot. The early bird catches the worm, as they say here in Britain. Yeah, I've heard that expression. But I really don't want to catch a worm. So I tried desperately not to wake up early, but I was so worried I couldn't catch a wink! And now I'm absolutely exhausted as a result. Do literally all people take things so literally? Thank you for putting your faith in us today, Mr. Natsume. I wish I had 9 lives. My whole future hangs in the balance. I am too terrified to tremble. Really? Because I can feel the tremors in the floor. I can't do this. I can't take it. Well, although, welcome student Mr. Naruto Esquire. Yes. I got a glimpse of the public gallery as I walked by the courtroom. It looked like the opening night of the opera. There were so many people. I had no idea my case was a notorious affair here in London. No, neither did I. Do you know why that might be, Mr. Sato? I'm sorry, Mr. Naruto, but I have no idea. So that all-knowing look on your face is just coincidence then, is it? Don't hide the truth from me. It's because of the Reaper, isn't it? Lord Van Zeeks. Is that right, Mr. Sato? I purchased as many different newspapers as I could find this morning, and yes, Lord Van Zeeks is on the front page of every single one. I knew it. Sometime after the prosecutor was dubbed the Reaper of the Bailey. He stopped appearing in the course, it seems. It's been several years now, in fact, until the day before yesterday. Yeah, Inspector Gregson told us the same thing, didn't he? The trial 2 days ago marked Lord Van Zeeks' return to the courtroom after a very long hiatus. The trial of Magnus McGilded. What a harrowing experience that was. I believe that appearance made even greater waves here in the capital than today's. But we wouldn't have realised, of course, having only just arrived in the country. Why is the Reaper back in the Bailey so soon, and for what appears to be a mundane murder? That's the question the papers are asking, and they're all speculating various answers. Mundane? Mundane? It's the most significant saga of the century to some of us. Oh dear, I meant no offence, Mr. Natsume, but that is how the papers are describing it. Well, lest we forget the fact that it could spark an international incident. Obviously, the reappearance of this infamous prosecutor has caught people's attention. But there's another blatantly similarity of the trial 2 days ago. Yes, I agree. Welcome, student Mr. Naruto Esquire. It's you! Me? Well, I suppose that's true. Both times it is you who stands against this legendary prosecutor. It can only mean that you're friends with the Reaper. Please, I don't rub shoulders with Deathbringers. I'm afraid that there's only one other explanation. It can only be another example, Mr. Naruto, of your uncommon bad luck. Thanks for that. Oh, this is just my luck. Why must I be represented by a man with such frail fortune? By the least lucky while you're alive! Well, let's not forget that it was you, Mr. Natsume, who asked me to represent you. Yes, it's true that I'm just a student new to London with very little in the way of experience or skills. Or luck. But I promise you this. I will fight your corner until the bitter end. And I will believe in you, Mr. Natsume. Oh, benevolent welcome student Mr. Naruto Esquire. You're not alone here with us, Mr. Natsume. Whatever happens, we will always be on your side. Oh, but unwelcome assistant, Miss Mikitomo Esquires. I am in your debt, forever. I shall never forget this great kindness for as long as I live. Mr. Natsume, counsel for the defense. The court session is about to begin. Kindly make your way into the courtroom at once. Alrighty then, Mr. Natsume. It's time. Let's go. Yes! I still have no idea how to voice Natsume, but I think I put it down. Ish. I said that last time, didn't I? Alright, okay, so this is it. My second appearance in a British courtroom. And my second trial against the Reaper. I hope you're watching over me, Kazuma. Because this time, I won't let my faith waver. I'll believe in my client to the last. Just like you believed in me. I believe I can do this now. I'm ready for this fight. Let's do this then. 20th of February, 10 in the AM, in the Old Bailey courtroom with no number because there's only one of them. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I can now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is fully prepared, my lord. The defense is ready, my lord. The Nipponese truly are a fascinating breed. Sorry, what? Wood Strongheart has told me all about you. That you're a student who arrived in London but 2 days ago, a mere amateur. Do you have a point? Being a compatriot, you feel compelled to try to help the accused, I suppose. Typical Nipponese arrogance. Forgive me, but I do not believe arrogance is an appropriate description. Susato-san. After all our previous encounter, the defendant was found to be innocent. Very true. A most fascinating, if dark, trial it was too. The tragic conclusion came later, of course. Here's to the acquitted, and his unfortunate, violent end. Thank you, counsels. I see both sides are in fine fettle. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, are you ready to carry out your duties here in court as impartial members of the public? Hang on a sec. You were in the last case. I say, fine. You never know what you might be down on your luck, but I believe in fair play for everyone. Well, I must warn you, I'm rather ruthless than I appear. No, well, not me. What you see is what you get. I'm a peace-loving fella. I'm afraid to say, I think it's quite possible that Moustache Foreigner did the deed. Come on, what are you waiting for? No doubt you did it anyway. Yeah, sorry, didn't quite catch that. Very well, let us proceed. Your opening statement, if you please, Lord Van Zieks. Very recently, Great Britain signed an alliance with a rising power in the Far East. The accused underdog today is a student from that same land, a certain Mr. Sosuke Natsume. And while our country has extended this foreign student the warmest of welcomes, regrettably the kindness has not been returned. In fact, the student is accused of a most sinister act. Of plunging a knife into the back of an innocent woman who was doing nothing but walking down the street. A knife crime? I tell you from bitter experience, this is the worst. Boarding oath they are. Just look at that shallow complexion and short stature. He's one of those dreadful Japanese. Come on, let's get this over with. With me now, everyone. 1 and 2 and up. Yeah, sorry, didn't quite catch that. Pray, forgive the discourtesy of smashing my hallowed chalice here in this great chamber. Allow me to call the first witness to the stand. Very well. Bailiff, lead the inspector in, please. Okay. Oh, it's you! Your name and occupation, please. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard. Would you please summarise the events of the case for the court, Inspector? The victim is thought to be a young woman in her 20s by the name of Olive Green. I beg your pardon, Inspector. Thought to be? Yes, having been stabbed in the back by her attacker's knife, the victim fell unconscious. That was 3 days ago now, and she's been comatose ever since. What? So they don't even know who she is for sure. Comatose. I see. But her life is not in danger. Fortunately for the Eastern students, the charge will not be murder. Pray, elaborate on the details, Inspector. Sir, if I could ask everyone to look at this street map. As I mentioned, the incident took place 3 days ago, at around 5 in the afternoon. It happened on the pavement running alongside Briar Road, a wide thoroughfare for horse-drawn vehicles. It didn't be long stopped slowing as the victim, Miss Green, was walking down the street. Out of the blue, she was approached from behind by the accused and stabbed in the back. Luckily, the young lady's life was spared, and she's currently being treated in one of the city's hospitals. But being unconscious as she is, we've been unable to take a statement from her, of course. This is the case file with everything we know about the victim so far. Thank you, Inspector. The court will accept the documents as evidence, if you please. The case file has been entered into the court record. What of the weapon was used? Sir, I have that here. It was removed from the victim's back. Ouch! That big thing is starting to make me scared to walk down the street now. With a heavy blade like that, almost anybody would have been able to stab the poor woman. Even the scraggy-looking Sosuke's son, I suppose. A common old-jarred jackknife, I would say, rather nondescript. Thank you, Inspector. The court accepts the blade as evidence. Jackknife has been entered into the court record. Now then, what do we know of the motive? Money or valuables, I presume? From what we can tell by looking at the woman's possessions, it seems like she's a poor student herself. Not to imagine she'd have anything much worth pinching, my lord. I see. Well, in that case, are we looking at some deep-seated resentment towards the victim? I'm afraid I couldn't say. Apart from visiting second-hand bookshops, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, doesn't appear to get out much. At this moment in time, we haven't been able to establish any sort of connection between him and the victim. Yes! If theft and grievance have been ruled out as the motive, what reason could Mr. Natsume possibly have had for stabbing the young woman? Yet you arrested the man in spite of that, in a totally unjustified and heavy-handed way.
Objection!
Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging a freshly uncorked bottle into the public gallery, but your words have soured its hallowed bouquet. For it is you, my learned friend, who is being heavy-handed here. What? Scotland Yard does not arrest people without good cause. That should be beyond question. Inspector Gregson, the prosecution calls for your formal testimony. Explain to this court precisely why the constabulary came to arrest the Nipponese students. Yes, sir. Okay, here we go. Witness testimony. Let us tear this man a new one. Or not. So, as I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred. There was an unusually light fog. Visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else about but the victim and the accused. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed on the pavement. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. There was been a number of old books he just bought. He was on his way home from a bookshop, it seems. It was a matter of working out who the books belonged to, and we found the bloke to arrest him. Okay. I think I have a general idea of what I want to press there. Well, no, I'm sure I know what to press. So, old books, you say? Yes, my lord. I have a photograph here of the scene of the crime, taken immediately after the incident. It's Logan Paul's tile behaviour right here. So, yes, I can clearly see the books to which you were referring. I will take that photographic print as evidence, please, Inspector. Okay, so, crime scene photograph. We're getting all the evidence we need right now. You Nipponese are a spineless breed, too cowardly to admit defeats. Denying everything despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Well, forgive me, Lord Van Zeeks, but the defendant is not denying everything, as you put it. What are you doing, Mr. Sato? Do go on. Mr. Natsume has admitted to playing some part in the incident. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, now you mention it. When we visited him in the prison yesterday, he did tell us what had all happened. As I was walking around that cursed pavement, I could make out the soul silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman wearing a green overcoat she was, just as I went to overtake her. She didn't let out a little scream and collapsed into the cold hot slabs of stone at my feet. I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran. I ran as fast as my legs would carry me back to my accursed lodgings. A green overcoat. Well, that's exactly what the woman in the print is wearing. Oh my, a photographic print in full colour. What will the world come up with next? The defendant has done nothing more than he fled the scene of a terrifying incident. That does not mean he's guilty of the heinous crime of stabbing the woman in the back. There was nobody else there at the time, just the two of them, the victim and the accused. In other words, there is nobody else who could have possibly stabbed the woman. A fact that the accused concedes. It seems this cross-examination could prove to be pivotal, counsel. Proceed, please. Yes, my lord. Nothing for it. I have to use this cross-examination to turn the tables here. It's our only chance. Right, we need to find something to press. I didn't see any glaring inconsistencies that I first run through. So it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred. There was an unusually light fog. Visibility was reasonably good and there was no one else about but the victim and the accused. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed onto the pavement. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. There's been a number of old books he just bought. He was on his way home from a bookshop, it seems. It was just a matter of working out who the books belonged to, and we found the bloke to arrest him. Okay. We'll ask about the fog, actually, because that could easily have had somebody hiding in it. A light fog, you say? Well, light fog for one, then. You can see the opposite side of the street for once. Not much farther, though. That's light, is it? Around these parts, yeah. Not something I'd expect a Japanese fellow like yourself to know, of course. I've read that London is famous for its fog, but in my country people usually imagine that gives the city a rather beautiful appearance. How quaint. Yes, well, it's not something those Londoners tend to romanticize, as I expect you can appreciate. I see. At this time of year, the fog causes a large number of accidents, especially when it's heavy. Sometimes you can't even see your own hand at the end of your arm. Indeed. The other day, I was very nearly trampled by horses before I could see the carriage they were pulling. So Sada-san and I should definitely remember to stop, look, and listen. However, on the day that concerns us, the fog was somewhat lighter than usual. A fact no doubt lamented by the accused. Okay. So, visibility was reasonably... We'll just press everything. Right, how are you able to state that with any certainty? Quite simply, my learned friend. Because that is what the witnesses to this crime have told us. Ah, yeah. Inspector Gregson did mention the witnesses yesterday, didn't he? That's right. One of them is a policeman, I believe, from Scotland Yard. That is correct, ma'am. Then we must hear their testimony. The prosecution will, of course, call them to the stand, should it be necessary. But wait a minute. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, in the middle of the winter, it would have been dark already. No matter how light fog may have been, no one could have seen. I'm aware of the situation on your tiny island in the east. But here in the capital city of Great Britain, all main roads are illuminated in the night by gas street lights. The prosecution believes there would have been ample light to which witness the crime. Quite. Here in London, for the first time in history, mankind has completely conquered the darkness. Which means we really need to hear those witness statements. If I could just get through the fog of this cross-examination, maybe we'll be able to... It seems the counsel for the defense is taking stock. Continue with your testimony, Inspector. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed on the pavement. Okay. From behind, you say? That's right, as you can see from this print. Yes, quite so, Inspector. The handle of the weapon is clearly protruding from the victim's back. And you say this poor woman, Miss Green, remains in a critical condition? Comatose, no less. I'm afraid so, my lord, yes. She's been treated at Bart's. I was hopeful that she'd come round before the trial started so I could take a statement, but it wasn't to be. Yes, this is indeed a pity. It would have been most illuminating to hear the victim's own account of events. Luck is on your client's side, it seems. On the contrary, my client has been exceedingly unlucky. Your force of tone is seriously undermined by those disturbingly wide eyes, I'm afraid. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. Okay, this feels useless to press, but let's go. So, Mr. Natsume's belongings. I think you'll find it's all there in the photographic print of the crime scene. Yes, there's 3 books on the floor. That's right, my lord. Second-hand books they were. Irreparably damaged after falling in the snow, of course. The accused could have easily carried all 3 books in one hand, which means his other hand would have been free to wield the knife, for example. He's very clever, isn't he? What do you mean? He's made it extremely hard for you to assert that Mr. Natsume had his hands full with his books. He's managed to close the one avenue of escape we might have had before we even knew it was there. You mean to say the defendant was holding his belongings as he thrust a knife into the woman's back? That must be what happened, my lord. Yeah. Okay, we're not looking too hot here. Those being a number of old books he just bought on the way home from a bookshop. The defendant apparently visits a second-hand bookshop on a daily basis. Yeah, so I understand. A shop full of old English literature. I commend the accused on the lofty subject matter of his scholarly attention. The books were stacked to the floor ceiling with those mostly old things. Can you tell us more about the bookshop in question, please, Inspector? Well, if I must, I'll have to ask you to look at the street map again, I'm afraid. Closest second-hand bookshop to the accused lodgings is this place here, Bourbon Books. A little place on the corner of Briar Road and Massachusetts Street. As it happens, the accused is currently living in lodgings on the other side of Briar Road, at the opposite end. Which means it doesn't take a genius to work out the route he would have taken home. Something like this. The locals' maps information has been updated in the court record. Yes, I concur with your conclusion, Inspector. The defendant would certainly have passed the scene of the crime on his way home from that particular shop. Mr. Naruhodo, I think that what the Inspector just told us could turn out to be of vital importance. Yeah, I agree. The most important point that the Inspector just made being the bookshop's location. The crucial detail in what you've just told the court, Inspector, is the location of the bookshop. I couldn't agree more. So, where is it exactly? Are you winding me up, Sunshine? I just explained that. I got me my hat and everything. Use blooming red ink. I drew the books right on for you. And I distinctly remember seeing you in the Lawn Council. Oh, yeah, of course. I must have been so nervous I didn't take it in. The blunder of the day goes to you, my learned friend. No, not yet. The trial's only just begun after all. Mr. Naruhodo, I would strongly advise you to look carefully through the court record at this stage. Yes, miss. At once, miss. Sorry I made a mistake, miss. Inspector, continue with the testimony, please. Okay, so they're saying something is to be looked at here. So, second-hand book receipts. Your books. Oh. Okay, so evidently he went to a different... Oh, okay, so press the other one. So you asked for the help of the famous detective Sherlock Holmes to locate the defendant, I believe. Stuff and nonsense. Sorry? That Jack in office, that busybody, just comes and sticks his head over him whenever we ask him or not. But according to what I have here, Mr. Holmes was shown to the scene by Scotland Yard detectives. Well, that was nothing to do with me. The lads at the scene must have done it without my permission. I tell them time and time again, whenever something happens, don't call Holmes in and follow your blooming instructions. I see. If that meddler gets his hands on any details, we'll be reading it in Rand's magazine next month. And you can bet your last farthing that I'll be in there too. Stripped of all me hard work on the case. Yes, Mr. Holmes. No, Mr. Holmes, aren't you clever, Mr. Holmes? That's all the thanks I'll be getting. Inspector. If the man is proving detrimental to the R's activities, perhaps I should step in and deal with him. It appears Inspector Gregson is lost for words. Yes, the Reaper's words carry a lot of weight, obviously. Anyway, the point is this, that little Japanese bloke's already admitted it. He's admitted that those books all of the payment at the scene were the ones he brought that day. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? If you're unable to sway the jury during this cross-examination, I'm afraid that Mr. Natsume's fate will be sealed. Yes, they're sure to find him guilty. So, one way or another, I have to expose an undeniable inconsistency in the inspector's testimony. Right, well, we already know where that is, so we need to press him again, I believe. Okay, no, so we're going to press this, and then do the dialogue and say the name of the bookstore. Okay, so, boop, 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 boop. Okay. So, okay, so way more dialogue than I remember. So he's gonna, okay. But basically, the name contradicts Bourbon Books, but he actually went to your books. If that's somewhere else on the map, there may be a chance he took a different route home. It's like, I don't remember where it may be. Like I said, I've already played this case, but... Okay, I can go with your inspection and okay. Okay, vital importance, yes I agree. And it's bookshop's name. There we go. Inspector Gregson, may I ask you a favour? What? Would you kindly add the name of the bookshop to your formal testimony, please? I believe it may be of vital importance. Maybe? Well, you know, I mean, yes! It could be a very important clue. Very well. Not as I can see it being of any great importance. But please arise your testimony accordingly, Inspector. Yes, sir, my lord, whatever you say. Could the man be any more sardonic? Okay, so here we go. He's on his way home from Bourbon Books, a second-hand bookshop he apparently patronises. But he wasn't.
Objection.
If I could just stop you there, Inspector Gregson. What is it, Sunshine? I'm a busy man, you know. This is a receipt we found in Mr. Natsume's room. It was issued on the day of the incident and details the purchase of 3 second-hand books. And you found that in the accused's room, did you? Yes, but the point is not where the receipt was found, but the name of the shop printed on it. Go on. This receipt was issued from a bookshop called Your Books. Your Books? Y-O-R-E, I presume. Yes, my lord. So, Mr. Natsume did indeed purchase a number of books at a second-hand bookshop that day. However, the bookshop in question was not Bourbon Books. What? Inspector, do you know of this other bookshop? Yes, sir. Your Books is another second-hand bookshop not far from Bourbon Books. It's just that... Well, it's such a small place, I didn't think the accused would have known about it.
Objection.
But in fact, that is the bookshop which the defendant visited on the day in question. And this receipt proves it.
Objection.
Yes, for what difference it makes. However the man purchases Misty Tombs, it makes no difference in the final analysis.
Objection.
I disagree. I mean, after all, I have the street map here if that might be of help. Oh, yes, thank you. Have a look at this, please. If the defendant had been returning from Bourbon Books, then yes, he would have almost certainly passed the place where Miss Green was attacked. However, if we take into account the fact that he was actually at another bookshop, Your Books, it may very well turn out that he wouldn't have passed that location at all. Oh, could that be true? My, it rather depends on whether this other bookshop is, but I do declare it may be a possibility. Is that right, Mr. Lawyer, sir, what you just said? Absolutely. It could absolutely be right. Inspector Gregson, where is this Your Books establishment? Well, obviously we looked into that. Turns out that Your Books is just here on the next corner of Maidstone Street going east. The locals map information has been updated in the court record. And there you have it. As you can clearly see now. Oh. My learned friend is obviously in training to be a clown, the way he regales us with such witticisms. to your future career in the circus. You put that glass down now, or I'll put it down for you. I don't think I need to spell it out, but here we go. If the accused was coming over from your books instead of Bourbon books, there's no doubt he still would have passed the place where the victim was stabbed. Yes, thank you, Inspector. Allow me to reiterate from my learned, if somewhat slow, Nepenthe's friend. Wherever the man purchases musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis. Ugh! As I suspected, you can't fool me. I don't suggest you try. What did I say? I've had enough of this now. I beg your pardon. I'll be sorry, but would you mind repeating that? Mr. Naruto, we mustn't give up. What do you mean? If the prosecution's assertion is correct, the members of the jury may very well decide that Mr. Natsume is guilty. She's absolutely right. We must think. We must consider the assertion just put forward by the prosecution very, very carefully. They claim Sosuke-san must have passed the location of the incident on his way home from your books, but... See, he had to because, his books were there, so we have to leave it. I think I'd better leave it alone for now. Very well, if the defense has no rebuttal here. Mr. Naruto, as I said before, we can't give up here. We must fight back. Yes, I realise that, but sometimes the best way to fight is to do nothing, you know. You're right, what am I talking about? Doing nothing won't get us anywhere. It wasn't sitting right with me anyway.
Objection.
The assertion just made by the prosecution is fundamentally flawed.
Hold it.
First, we must deal with the inexcusable tardiness of your objection. Ugh! Mr. Naruto, remember, it's time to fight back. I don't know what's worse, the court penalty or Susato-san's piercing stare. Explain yourself, counsel. Yes, my lord. You can see what I mean on this map. When returning from your books with lodgings, Mr. Natsume could have followed the route suggested by the prosecution. However, that isn't the only conceivable route to take between the two places. If the defendant uses these streets, well, what happens? He arrives back at his lodgings without passing the location where the victim was attacked.
Objection.
Talking back to a clown is a fool's errand, of course. However, I feel compelled to point out that that route is what is commonly referred to as the long way round. On a cold winter's night, why would any man choose to take a longer route home? Well, the answer is extremely simple. He wouldn't. In other words. The accused took the obvious route back to his lodgings, and that is the obvious perpetrator of the crime.
Objection.
But, aha, yes, I've got it. Obviously, you must ask the man himself. Ask Mr. Natsume which route he took home. I've already informed the court of the accused's response to such questioning. He claims he has no recollection. That's right. As I said, the bloke seems to spend his time outside wandering aimlessly from A to B. That day was no exception. He says he doesn't remember where he was or which route he took home. I don't believe this! I thank you, my learned friend, and suggest that we do not waste any more of the court's time by wandering aimlessly around this subject. Pray, what say your insightful jurors? But even if that is the case, the defense still... I agree with Lord Van Zieks, wholeheartedly and in every way. What? I don't believe it. Does this mean... We members of the jury are completely convinced now. Very well. In that case, I hereby call upon all members of the jury to present your findings to the court. Guilty.
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 Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
It would appear the jury's ruling is unanimous. To the insightful members of the jury, I applaud your brave resolve. You serve Queen and country admirably. Mr. Naruhodo. No. Not yet. This isn't over yet. I still have one last chance to sway the opinion of the jury. I have to tip the balance of those scales the other way. I have to turn this around. Somehow. Those are the eyes of a quarry not yet willing to give up and die. So I presume you intend to wield your rights again in this trial? Rights of the defense written into an antiquated British law that should have been buried long ago. Call it antiquated if you will, but it's the defense's prerogative to carry out a summation examination if it so chooses. Very well, counsel. In accordance with the letter of the law, we shall proceed with the summation examination. Are the members of the jury ready, Mr. Foreman? Of course we're ready. I'm all too familiar with that Nipponese whippersnapper and his omnibus refusals thrown in his alley. Very well then. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will explain on what grounds you have determined the defendant to be guilty. Judicial findings. The juror's contentions. For pity's sake, the Nipponese Odyssey already admitted it himself, didn't he? If he said a woman in green collapsed before his eyes, why can it only have been the victim? The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop, not in winter. So, the poor woman was attacked from behind, was she? How dreadful. I really don't care. Can we just wrap this up now? I've got work to be doing. Your books, yes. Nice shop, that. But Bourbon books? No, not worth a visit. Okay, there's definitely a few we can press there for extra info. So, With only minor exceptions, the reasons for finding the defendant guilty are all too clear. When the stabbing occurred, only 2 people at the scene were the victim and the accused. And the accused himself has admitted to seeing the victim in her green overcoat sink to the ground before his eyes. Furthermore, we have heard from the inspector that the defendant then fled the scene. I must say, I would have ample grounds to convict this man already. Oh dear, even the judge appears convinced of Mr. That guilt now. Why did he have to run away like that? And how are we supposed to believe in some phantom attack that nobody could see? This is impossible! How can I possibly make a case for the defense? Mr. Naruhodo, this is no time for grumbling. If we want to force the trial to continue... Yes, I know, I have to turn the tide. I have to make the jurors change their minds. Well, 4 of them at least. Exactly. We have no choice but to forge forward. You have the floor, counsel. Begin your summation examination. Yes, my lord. I just need to keep this trial going somehow. Whatever it takes. Come on, Ryunosuke, you can do it. Jury examination. The defense's rebuttal. Okay, so, first and foremost, things I need to press. Right, I really don't care. Can't we just wrap this up now? I've got work to be doing. Elaborates. A man's life is on the line here, sir. This will take as long as it takes. Don't get clever with me now, son. My life's on the line too, and so is my family's. Ah. Like so you wouldn't understand, but a labourer like me can't afford to take time off. If I don't work, I don't eat, and neither do the wife or the kids. Oh, I see. That must be very hard. I go to the union every morning to find out what needs doing. If you're away and the work's taken, it's tough. This time of year, there's water and gas supply pipes in both and left, right and centre. You have to cheap labour to get the roads to the up to fix it. It's a hard slog from dusk till dawn, sis. So, you were out digging up on the roads on the day of the incident as well, were you? That's right. In fact, I remember rightly, it was just round the corner from where it all happened. By the old bookshop it was. What? Another coincidence. That's right, McShersham Street it was. Mishram Street. On the map, Mr. Naruhodo, there are only 3 named streets. Juror number 5, I need you to add that information to your formal statement, please. What's the point in that? I can't just get this business over with now. Please, sir, it's important. Fine, I'll do it then. Okay, on the day it happened, I was digging up mist comes straight from dusk till dawn. So, let me just have a look at what street that actually is. So it could have been here or here. Okay, we will bear that in mind. Okay, we're gonna press U2. Sorry. Fold it, you say? Fold what? No. What I said was hold it. What I wanted to ask was, do you visit your books often? I like your books they have in there, yes. I enjoy reading them over a nice cup of old tea. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're all talking about. And at what time did you visit your books on the day in question? Well, I was picking out books in there all afternoon, and it would have been just before 5 that I left. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're all talking about. Just before 5, you say, exactly when the victim was attacked. Are you sure about the time? Oh yes, no mistake there. I remember it well. I'm not about to forget that day in a hurry. Not after the dreadful time I had. What do you mean? Well, I was walking down Calabash Road when I slipped on ice and docked my head. It's always worse after the snow stopped falling. That's when it's most slippery. Knocked myself clean out, I did. Really thought my number was up. Wait a minute, let me get this straight. This happened on Calabash Road? That's right, I live in Cornpipe, you see. And then down Calabash Road is the quickest way for me to get back from your books. Juror number 6, I must insist that you add that information to your formal statement. It may very well be extremely significant. Sorry? Extremely sick? No, I'm quite alright now. Okay. It sends a shiver down my spine to hear the members of the jury so convinced of Mr. Natsume's guilt. And I can't help feeling that some of their opinions are rather subjective. I agree, it's the irrelevance of what some of them are that's sending a shiver down my spine. Still, at least some of their assertions don't actually incriminate Mr. Natsume. If anything, that's something. We must go to use that advantage, Mr. Naruhodo. Cunningly! Yes, you're right. Let's just listen to the jurors again, and carefully. And if any of their assertions are at odds, I'll pit them mercilessly against each other. Yes, don't hold back. Pit them all against each other. Okay. So for pity's sake, we'll put... Okay, let's hold that. Okay, excuse me, but aren't you... Yeah, that's right. I was a witness to that myself just 2 days ago. Yeah, I had a feeling I knew your face. Or the side of it, anyway. If I remember correctly, you're a banker, aren't you? That's right. After the gold rush down under, I came back to London to work. And it was all going swimmingly until you started fossicking around. Bruce Fairplay was a man of repute. Sorry. Don't think I've forgotten how you treated me the other day. You and me and that young attacked as criminals. Ah, well, you know, water under the bridge. Now there's all sorts of rumours buzzing around, and the police have been badgering me non-stop. If I could turn back the clock... Well, anyway, I don't know about the outer, but at least I'm in the clear now. I'm free to make my own mind about who's guilty and who isn't. Thank goodness. Alright, maybe I struggle to change this man's mind, given our awkward history. Oh dear, I wonder what's become of Mr. First now. Okay, that's why it can only have been the victim. From behind, no less. You're right that at the time of the incident, the defendant admits to having seen someone wearing a green overcoat walking ahead of him. Well, quite, that's precisely my point. Clearly that someone was wearing green was the victim. And clearly that funny little Nipponese man with the disturbing moustache is the culprit. But let us not forget the defendant vehemently denies attacking the woman. Why, of course he does. He admits to stabbing her, his life is over. The man is obviously a liver-faced coward, honestly, claiming the woman simply collapsed before his eyes. But if that's a lie as you're suggesting, do you not think you would have concocted something more credible? Oh, I really couldn't say. After all, you are foreign. Who's to say that what goes through your funny little minds? I could tell what's going through my funny little mind right now, but you wouldn't like it. I do declare the man has already made the admission. He himself has stated that there was nobody else around. Surely the conclusion is obvious. Nobody else could have possibly committed this awful crime. If no one else could have done it, the accused must be the man. Really, it couldn't be more simple. Your argument is compelling in its simplicity, I must admit. Oh my, you are too kind, my lord. That went well for her. Okay, I have an idea. Okay, now we've gone around houses. So you, attack from behind, how dreadful. We want to pit you against you, because you couldn't actually see the face of the victim.
Objection.
Yep, and I've cooked it. Yep, I had a feeling that was going to happen. Okay, I'm sorry, but as foreman of the jury, I have to object. That's complete nonsense. It's like it was a slim chance, but I was holding out. I well and truly was. Okay, I'm not permitted whimsical attack against the good members of the jury council. Down to 3. There was nothing whimsical about it. It's very important to listen carefully to every juror, Mr. Naruhodo. Then you can decide where the contradictions really lie, if there are any. It's like, I'm thinking 5 and 6 could be put together, I'm just not sure what. Like, so on my evening, I knocked myself clean out. Oh. There's a chance.
Objection.
Those two statements clearly show a flaw in the juror's reasoning. A flaw? What are you talking about, counsel? Well, juror number 2, juror number 6. Why, whatever do you mean, sir? Don't say it. Thank you. I think perhaps the old man didn't hear you. Unbelievable. It's not like I was loud or anything. There is at least one fact of which we can be sure here. The bookshop receipt found in the defendant's room clearly indicates that on the day of the attack, he had been to your books and purchased a number of second-hand titles. Then he returned home on foot. But the man says he has no recollection of his return journey. That's correct. But what he does remember is seeing someone appear in front of him along the way. Someone in a green overcoat who suddenly collapsed on the pavement before his eyes. Yes, well, we're all aware of this. The poor young woman who was stabbed, obviously.
Objection.
Can we really be sure of that, madame? My, whatever do you mean? I'm sure you heard juror number 6's account of what happened to him that day. That same afternoon, there was somebody else apart from the victim, who was wearing a green overcoat and who fell over on the icy streets of the neighbourhood. Oh my. My goodness, you mean? That's right. I'm referring to, of course, to the hard of hearing juror number 6. Oh, are you really suggesting that the person in green overcoat whom the defendant saw collapse in front of his eyes was a jolly old gentleman at the end of the bench with me today? That is entirely possible, yeah. After all, the old man has a somewhat similar build to the victim. Well, look at that. My goodness me. Oh, sorry, you need to pee? And crucially, we know precisely where the old man in the green overcoat fell. On Calabash Road. Therefore, if the person whom Mr. Natsume saw collapsing in front of him was in fact juror number 6, it means the defendant must have taken the long route back to his lodgings. And if that's true, then clearly the crime scene on Briar Road where the woman was stabbed was not on his way home. Oh my. You idiot old man, if you hadn't been so daft as to be roaming about there, we'd have boxed us off hours ago. And really, what were you thinking wearing such a befuddling coat? What do you say to me? Is it a crime for the elderly to walk the streets these days, Is it a crime to slip over on the ice? Is it a crime to keep up with the latest styles and wear a beautiful green overcoat, is it? My lord, I do hope it won't cause any inconvenience, but you'd like to change your leaning, I presume? I do declare that I would. I should like to call for a verdict of not guilty. Thank you. And I would too. What? Is it a crime to change your mind? Is it? Well... Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo, that was wonderful. Well, I've managed to change a couple of minds at least. It's strengthened our position somewhat. Yes, and it'll prompt the other members of the jury to reconsider their stance as well. They'll be asking themselves if their current leanings are really right or not. Now, if only we could identify one more clue or discrepancy that would make them stop doubting Mr. Natsume. We might be able to tip the balance completely. Yes, that's exactly what we've got to do. Van Zieks is looking to bring this trial to an early conclusion. That's what we have to prevent by whatever means we have at our disposal. Thank you, Counsel. On with the summation examination, please. Yes, my lord. Okay. So. Right, the man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop, not in winter. He could have actually. If I very quickly bring up the court record and this, there's a chance that because of the roadworks he went the long way around. That's literally an idea. Well, that's literally the only idea I have to throw out right now.
Objection.
And it's the right one. Those two statements are clearly at odds with one another. Lord Counsel, explain yourself. Please don't point, it wasn't me, I swear. No, I just want to get this one undusted. Well, juror number 3. Oh, me, sir. What do you mean? Juror number 5's words just now are extremely significant. Let's take a moment to consider the implications of what's been said on our map of the local area. Oh. On the day in question, Mr. Natsume visited this bookshop to purchase a number of second-hand books. And on the same day, we now know that there were works being carried out on Meerstrom Street, making it impassable. Which means that the defendant's route home could not have taken him along Meerstrom Street and down Briar Road. Oh yes, quite of course. Wait, what do you think, sir? Well, yeah, you can't argue with that really, can you? You must have had a good 2 yards or more of the pavement up. Every gentleman and gentlewoman that came along to turn back and go the other way. So the only conclusion is this. The defendant must have taken the longer route back to his lodgings. Yes, I suppose he must have. Well, I suppose that must be right, eh? Juror number 3 said the following. The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop. But we see now that he had no choice. Yes! My lord, Mr. Judge, sir, if I may. Yes. I don't think in all good conscience that I can say the man's guilty now. Yes, I'd like to see this trial continue so we can get to the bottom of what really happened. What about you, sir? Yeah, me? Well, alright then. If there's ill on the prosecution's argument, it should be filled in, that's what I say. Well, that summation examination has concluded with a rather large shift in opinion. The ayes 2, the noes 4. So the noes have it. Not guilty, they say. Which means we no longer have a consensus among the members of the jury. The trial will continue.
Objection.
Could it seem churlish of me to drink from my chalice moments after raising an objection? Only to crush it in disgust. Pray forgive the discourtesy. Lord Van Zeeks. It seems I must retract my earlier remark. What do you mean? I mistakenly credited these jurors with intelligence by describing them as insightful. Yet, we've just witnessed them falling for a cheap trick before my uneasy entertainer. Whatever do you mean?
Objection.
I haven't tricked anyone. Everything I've said is the truth. Indeed. Stalwart juror number 5 was undoubtedly repairing the road, as he claims. I believe you said it was a good 2 yards of the pavement of which you had excavated, sir? That's right. Told me the old day they paid me a measly tuppence for it. Now, my learned Japanese friend, tell me. Do you have any notion of the distance that 2 yards represents? Well, if I'm honest, I don't have a clue, no. 2 yards is a little less than 2 meters. Less than 2 meters? That's not much at all. In other words, a distance rarely vaulted by anyone of moderate vigor. Would you not agree, my stalwart friend? I can't say you're wrong, no. No, what? And did you perchance erect a sign to prevent pedestrians from passing the site of your works? Yeah, I wouldn't dream of it. What a waste of time. The coaches would have had overpassing anyway. We just turn any gentlefolk back when they come. Kids just jump right over us all the time. The accused is no gentleman as far as I can see, and I have little doubt, however, that he could spring over a 2-yard trench in his meanderings around town. Ah! Is that true, is it? The incontrovertible truth is that the books just purchased by the accused were found at the scene. There can only be no doubt that on his way back to the lodgings, Mr. Natsume walked down Briar Road. Ugh. Crushed in a single sentence. And, old man? Goldman, you can't talk. You said it was around 5 o'clock in the day in question you slipped and fell on Calabash Road. Pray, was there a suspicious-looking Nepalese behind you at the time? Sorry, I just inhaled like a gallon of dust. And now I sound like I'm dying. Oh, I can't say that I remember. You don't remember? How about a wager, my learned friend? You say it was this old man that the accused saw, but I would lay 1,000 to 1. Against you being able to prove it. Ah! Order! Lord 6, explain yourself. My lord, if you had such trenchant argument up your sleeve, why in the world did you not prefer it during the summation examination? I wanted to give this young foreign student the sightseeing experience he no doubt came for. I wanted him to see for himself how the opinion of the jury is so readily swayed. Oh. But my hospitality has its limits, and they have been reached, I feel. So, my learned Japanese friend, today's sightseeing tour of London is now officially over. What are you talking about? My lord, the prosecution requests permission to call its next witnesses to the stand. Granted. Bailiff, bring forth the witnesses. It's the next witnesses. Miss Naruto, do you not remember? You've been told on several occasions that there were eyewitnesses to the incident. Oh, I remember. One of them being a Scotland Yard policeman, no less. I'm afraid it's likely that the prosecution's net witness is them. Alright, no matter who Van Zieks brings to the stand as his witnesses, and no matter what they say, I believe in Sosuke-san. I know he's innocent. And I'll keep believing till the very end, until this battle is over. Speaking of the very end, that is the very end of this one. So, I'm gonna say, if you did enjoy, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, helps out a bunch, lets me know want to see more of this. I definitely just get a drink, because I think my throat's done a little bit in from that dust, but hopefully you enjoyed regardless. I know my voice was a bit all over the place, but hopefully that didn't help you enjoy regardless. But until next time, Bolt said all that side, I really do hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching, guys. My name's been Neremik, and peace out.